Haha, I knew this was coming. For the month of June so far, it seems evidently clear that every animated trailer under the sun is coming out. We have covered already 8 trailers this month alone, and I was in the middle of editing another one for today, until this released. DreamWorks' big project, The Wild Robot, was bound to be getting a second trailer, not just because it's around about time for it, but also I kind of have a feeling all of these trailers are releasing in order to try to be the one that gets the slot right before Inside Out 2 in cinemas. Either way, we've already spoken about the first initial trailer and how that is kind of an apology from DreamWorks due to the horrendous state that is Megamind 2, right? We haven't actually spoken about DreamWorks since then. They've kind of been dormant, working on this thing quietly along. Now, if you really want to dig deep into the production details and the sources for this movie, do check out our original trailer discussion. But skimming the details now to here, this is indeed another book adaptation, so the story is looking to be pretty good, conceptually. That being said, this second trailer, now that it has actually announced more of the plot line and presentation, rather than just, a normal first trailer montage, I am slightly less into it than I was before, for one simple fact that I was comparing DreamWorks' The Wild Robot with the same kind of vibes as Pixar's WALL-E. You know what I mean here? It's the artificial intelligence robot versus nature. A brilliant theme, still showcased here with some fantastic little changes that make it not a Pixar clone. That's not a surprise, is it really? The thing that got me, and I mentioned this in our initial trailer discussion, was that there was a lot of voice acting cast, and I didn't see where the voice acting fitted in. I assumed it was. There are several other robots, each with their own lines of dialogue, that would all come navigating onto this island to invade and grab their rare special robot again. What I was looking forward to the idea of a wild robot story is very much the more artsy aesthetics of this concept. Animals don't speak. Sure, they do in animated movies, but they don't always, right? Same with robots as well. This one specifically has no mouth, and I don't see a speaker on them. I thought this was going to be like the first half of WALL-E, whereby there are some mild dialogue choices, there's a lot of sound design of course going into it, but I thought this could have been a really lovely artsy project, where it's like a short film of a natural robot exploring his realm without any lines of dialogue, until the second half when you're introduced to the Axiom and the humans or the other robots that do speak, or whatever, it's fine. Even if it's just one internal dialogue for the robot, that's better. So in that regard, I am slightly disappointed. I apparently have some horrendously high standards when it comes to every animated movie, but this kind of reminded me of the Overwatch short, which had the exact same theme of robot in the wild. And that one as well is totally dialogueless. It's what an artsy short film would do, and expanding that to being 45 minutes and then 45 minutes of not that exact format is great. What we get instead is all of the animals magically talk, and so does the robot as well. Fine, that's okay. It's just open season, but with a mechanical body. Now that being said, the things that pull it apart from Pixar and Overwatch and all the rest of it is actually some really nice creative decisions that I really like from the story, that of course come from the initial book source as well, in that the robot ends up being imprinted on by this little duckling, and so they go on to raise it, specifically having a goal of how this bird needs to learn how to swim and how to fly and actually grow and mature as its own specific nature arc. Meanwhile, in the later parts, we'll have the invasion of the rest of the robots. It's really nice. Now we get to see a little bit of who is what. Bill Nighy is there as the old goose. Pedro Pascal is there as the fox, as I understand it. It's nice. It's simple. I can see a lot of the film's elements all coming together. You know that the bird's going to have to handle some big looping over element that will be finally tackled in the final climax. All that good classic stuff. I think aesthetically, it looks a lot more artsy than maybe how the actual final presentation will come out, but that's alright. The visuals still look stunning, the soundtrack is immaculate, and it really is DreamWorks' final squeak of good content before they start outsourcing all of their things and doing a little bit more of the Megamind 2 thing. That is a real plan that they're rolling out. DreamWorks on the back end is kind of falling apart due to the decisions they're making for all of their workers and their actual laborious processes. Check out our initial trailer breakdown to hear all the actual more horrendous details going on in the back end there. Now, there wasn't just a trailer that released for The Wild Robot, there was a double bill of also a 1-minute trailer. Hello, thank you for making it halfway through this video. This is the quick plug to subscribe if you haven't already, and let us know what you think of the movie after this second installment of a sneak peek. We will, of course, be covering the third trailer when it eventually releases, probably at the beginning of September, maybe the end of August. As well as all the other trailers that have also released not only in the same hour, but also the month in general. So follow along to keep along. Plus, we'll eventually release a timeless video, like a cancelled episode that is in the works. But for now, I'll let you get back to the rest of our thoughts about The Wild Robot official trailer 2. Now, there wasn't just a trailer that released for The Wild Robot, there was a double bill of also a 1-minute trailer, which showcases a lot of the same elements, but with a more shorter timescale, so really it's just the same trailer twice. In this one, we get to see some varying footage, like a gigantic pile of raccoons on a tree, another element of taking the porcupine pines out of the fox, and then more of the basic story about looking after this little gosling. And really, this does just overall look to be a really beautiful, wholesome story. Every single animal is going to be helped by some regard by the wild robot. We see extracts as well of the actual technological side of the movie that I almost kind of feel would be preferred as hidden, but I guess the fact that it's very, very brief and you have to just be watching the clips over and over again, like I am on loop in the background of this recording, that you actually start to notice all of those details. But even still, what we see is quite nice. It looks very cold. There are multiple different types of drones, it seems, flying headless ones, clones of the exact same design, and the more aggressive type that will likely be invading later on. And the robot very much seems to be sort of inspired by the likes of Siri and maybe a little bit of Baymax in there, just trying to help whoever they can, despite the fact that they are clearly destined for much greater things by this big overlord corporation they've got going on. Aesthetically, I think this movie still looks brilliant. The storyline looks to be fantastic, especially since it's a book adaptation, and I really do have high hopes for this movie. I would have preferred if there was less dialogue. Of course, it would make it all the more artsy, but it's clearly got a high-quality, stellar cast to it. It clearly makes sense that they want to do that to market, I guess, the actual movie getting out there. And just because it's not exactly what I envisioned doesn't necessarily make it bad. It's slightly less appealing in my mind, but I'm still very much excited for it, especially since I'm now seeing clips of him finding another robot trapped on that island. Unless it's him falling to the moss and then gets reinstated by another one? Who knows? The sort of painted aesthetic we have in the lands is also really fantastic visually. Now, as I said at the beginning of this video, funnily enough, I was in the middle of editing another trailer clip at the time of this, and then also at the same hour of this damn movie getting a trailer, there are 2 other trailers that have dropped at the exact same time, both 3D, both animated. You've got Netflix's Arcane Season 2 getting the official teaser for a solid 105 seconds, as well as the actual trailer for Sausage Party, the Amazon series, which is... it really dives into the orgy scenes, let me tell you. We're gonna cover everything. Maybe I'll have to start doing double uploads for a bit. I don't know, maybe I'll space them out. You know, I had other plans for June that weren't just trailer breakdowns and discussions. One day you'll get to hear about a cancelled movie, but the slot keeps getting pushed further and further back. Either way, this is probably the last squeak of brilliant DreamWorks news. As we're coming up now to the halfway mark between this movie being shown and the movie actually releasing, we're soon probably going to be hearing about DreamWorks' next project, which will likely come with a notable drop down due to the outsourcing projects that the studio is doing behind the scenes. Choosing to sell out more to the likes of Megamind 2 and Peacock in that direction, rather than making some brilliant full theatrical productions like this. I would like to think that a success over this movie will convince them to go otherwise, but it just ain't looking great with the way they've already made cuts to their workers and just everything, you know, doing its current thing. Oh, and actually a detail I've just noticed actually is the fact that maybe even my one complaint about the Wild Robot could be getting a nice explanation. I said at the start that I'm not a big fan that the animals talk. Obviously, animated movies have done that for ages and it doesn't really feel like a special moment, but it seems like there is an in-universe answer, as the reality is it seems the animals don't speak at the very early stages of the movie. This being because, of course, they don't trust the robot and also the robot can't understand them. But because it is an artificial intelligence that is learning to learn and grow, it seems that it's actually part of the book that they come to learn the language of animals. They literally learn and adapt to the animals around them in order to understand what they're saying in a more clear fashion. Although I don't think it will take very long, considering the gosling is still just a tiny gosling when they're told that they have to basically be the mother of the little duckling thing. But even still, actually, maybe that clears the air a little bit for my one singular complaint for The Wild Robot. I guess as much as I have got incredibly high standards for any upcoming animated movie, sometimes if they are really good, I've only got one singular complaint. It was the same with Pixar's Inside Out 2, and now it's the same for DreamWorks' The Wild Robot. It's just the same, I've got a lot more complaints about the likes of Sausage Party and Lego Piece by Piece. But nonetheless, I am very excited to see how this all rolls out. DreamWorks have had some of the best highlights of recent years with the likes of Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and with this clearly also having a little bit of that Mitchells vs. Machines inspiration, or at least that's the vibe I get, this really is a top-tier AAA movie. Let's just see if it can meander all of the ways to make the best version of this movie that ticks all the boxes across all of our different expectations. It doesn't have to be too artsy, but it sounds like it's got at least a little hint of that extra artsy feel that I really love of a proper good animated movie. On that note though, I'm going to end it off there. My name's been Daz. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this video. Do let me know your thoughts of The Wild Robot now that we've seen a little bit more about how the whole thing's going to roll out. Let us know on our Discord server, and I shall see you in a little bit.